time for the best coverage of the top stories in sports. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
Yes, it does, and great to have you with us on this Monday edition of the show with plenty to talk about over the next 60 minutes, recapping the weekend that was. Tino Pattigno will drop by, our new wraparound Friday, Monday segment with him on NASCAR. What a wild Daytona 500 finish we had. Rain delay, crazy crash. Oh my goodness. Just wild. Sam Yarnell is here. Why are you? You meet you at the window?
I'm still raking in all these dollars from Jimmy Johnson, top 10, closed 4-1. That's right.
It's a nice job by you. 'Cause I wouldn't have touched that.
Called it the chaos play.
But that is the
some chaos.
That is exactly.
We got there.
That is exactly right. I did not. I told, just between us, because Tino's not on until later in the show. I told Tino I was going to tail him on his bets, and I didn't tail any of them. I didn't tail any of them. I just couldn't bet the Daytona 5. That race,
funny?
That race is too crazy.
Well, you know what's funny about that, too, is that because, a little peek behind the curtain through the fourth wall here. Yeah. When Tino sent out the picks to me and Jason, it was close to the posted race time.
It was like 3 minutes before the posted race time. Sure, I told him, send them early.
What was at the end of the text? It said, there's going to be a rain delay very early in this race, so you can wait until then to bet it all. You still had the opportunity, Jay. There's a 3-hour rain delay.
It's true, but we were entertaining people this weekend from out of town. It was a very long weekend.
Convenient.
It was a very, very long weekend. Well, I did strategically plan it this way because it was a pretty dead weekend other than the Daytona 500. So on Friday's show, I talked about the fact that what we should watch on TV. And Sam sold me on USA Canada. Boy, am I glad he did, because that was must-watch TV on Saturday night. First of all, congratulations to me. I am off the schneid after what felt like an endless losing streak. Took USA on the money line. Cha-ching. 2 units, thank you very much. And USA able to beat Canada. That being said, man, can we just bottle that up? Can we just find a way to bottle up what we watched on Saturday night and just, if everything in hockey was as good as that, I wouldn't miss a single minute of it. But here's the thing. As much as we're going to sit here and compare and contrast how the NHL got it so right and the ratings bared it out. It was they did a 5.4, like some ridiculous number on ABC on Saturday night for a Saturday night. Anything hockey related. I mean,
and they
insane.
did like a 2-something with the afternoon game. Like the ratings for the whole tournament are through the roof.
It was through the roof. For as much as they got it right and as great as it was, I have to ask the question, and I mean it when I just said it a few seconds ago. How do you take that and make it translate to the regular season and even to some degree the playoffs, where people just don't care as much? And that's what I'm trying to wrap my head around today. And I've been thinking about it all night. And I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you take what that was, which was so electric. The fights at the beginning, all of that stuff. How do you take that and make it so captivating that people are going to watch, even just Rangers Kings during the regular season, or Rangers Maple Leafs, or Rangers Oilers? How do you take what we saw and make it work for the regular season? Because they've got to figure out a way to do that, because that was amazing on Saturday night.
It was. And I think that we've gotten to a point in the world. The answer to your question directly, social media, right? If hockey had the social media pull that basketball does, it would be doing ratings numbers 10 times that of the NBA. If they had a better presence on social media, quite frankly, the cap in hockey would be way more, and the best player on the roster would be making $80 million a year instead of $8 million. There are so many great things about hockey, especially this year. You've got the Washington Capitals, a team that people had written off for dead, and they only had one player left, and that was Alex Ovechkin, who now is going to break Wayne Gretzky's record come like March. And the Capitals are the leading points team in the Eastern Conference at this Four Nations break. This is the intensity that you're talking about, right? It is your average Jets Oilers game that, two teams battling atop the Western Conference. The thing is, it just doesn't get this national stage simply by the choice of seemingly the media. It doesn't get this massive stage where it can have these massive games. But when we talk about playoff hockey every year, it's always the best playoff iteration maybe of any sport. Listen, hockey has it all. It's just seemingly being written off maybe because of the inconsequential overlap between both NFL and NBA. I'm not really sure. But what this weekend taught me is we got to start watching hockey a little bit closer.
Here's the thing. And we're going to have Dennis Bernstein on the show tomorrow to talk about the Four Nations. I think he was there on Saturday night. I was texting with him during the game just going, OMG, OMG, OMG. It was just been a bunch of OMG emojis. Here's the thing. And you might be able to answer this more. Maybe you watch more regular season than I do. And I'm guilty. I don't watch a ton of the regular season because it's fighting with so many other things for my attention. Are they playing that hard? Are they playing that hard like we saw them playing on Saturday night where Connor Bedard's going, 21 miles an hour en route to the opening goal of that game to make it 1-0? Are they playing as hard and with that sort of energy and emotion during a regular season game? Because in the playoffs, we know it's a totally different animal. NHL playoff hockey is as good a form for sports as you will ever see anywhere. We all agree on that. But during the regular season, are they sort of mailing it in the way the NBA does? And that's why people don't care as much?
Well, it's not really possible in hockey. I would compare mailing it in hockey. You can't in the same way that you can't in football, right? In basketball, kind of in the same way, quite frankly, as baseball, it's very easy, especially when you're one of 5 or one of 9, and the focus on you is a very designated point, right? In basketball, it's when you do or don't have the ball. In baseball, it's when you're in the batter's box or the ball is hit to you on defense, or obviously for pitchers when they're on the rubber. In hockey and football a little different, but still you have to give some level of energy or else you're going to get hurt. Yeah. The nature of the contact sport is that you have to protect yourself, Jason.
Yeah, I'm interested to talk about this more with Dennis tomorrow when we will. We're coming back, the NBA All-Star Game next. All right, let's take it to segment number 2 on this Monday edition of Sports Wrap. Coming up in 10 minutes, Tino Pattigno. He gets an 8-minute slot today on the show. Tino Pattigno. And that's unusual. That doesn't happen often. So we got to recap the Daytona 500. The Great American Race. America. Sam Yarnell, first we have to talk about the All-Star Game. By the way, not to get political, but if Elon Musk wants to keep cutting stuff from the United States and the budgets and all this stuff, just cut the NBA All-Star Game. Let's just cut. If he wants to scalpel something that costs tons of money, fans pay $1 zillion for, they're taxpayers. Let's just cut out the NBA All-Star Game.
That got me. That was good.
Let's just do All-Star Saturday night. Let's just skip the game and we'll call it a day. I'll kick you in the nuts and we'll call it a day. Because at this point, I don't know if there is anything that can rescue what continues to be a failure of epic proportions for the NBA when it comes to the All-Star Game. And I'm going to say something here that some people might misconstrue, and they might take it the wrong way. This does not have a racial overtone, even if you might want to make it sound like it is taking one. But I'm going to say this. The NBA All-Star Game is a problem of the NBA. It's a problem of the NBA culture. It's a problem with NBA players. It's a problem with guys having 3 and 4 days off in between games. It's a guys getting rest nights. It's a culture problem for the National Basketball Association that has permeated the All-Star game. As guys get richer, as the cats get fatter, the NBA All-Star game, guys don't want to play it. And if they don't want to play it, don't have the game. If you're a player-run league anyway, why do we continue to have an All-Star game that the players are making very clear they don't want it? They can say all they want. Well, now we're starting to hear the talk of they should do the same thing as the NHL is doing, the USA versus the world. They're still not going to play as hard as they play in the Olympics or the World Championships or any of these other things because they don't want to play unless they're getting paid, unless it counts toward. Even in the regular season, most nights you're only getting 60 to 70% of these guys' bests, of their top effort. The guys just want to coast. They want to get their money. I'm sorry, NBA players are spoiled to the degree that there is no way there is any scenario. And if I'm wrong, I will be the first one to come out if they do this USA versus the world and guys are diving for loose balls and running up and down the floor and playing defense. It's not going to happen because the culture of this league, Sam's dying to jump in. Don't worry, Sam. You're going to get your chance. The culture of this league is such that it will not allow for this All-Star game to flourish in any way. Sam will have his say in just a moment after a word from our friends over at Credit Associates. We're going to talk about the Daytona 500. You see William Byron? What a performance from him at the Daytona 500. Just stayed close enough, blocked his competitors, and then when the time was right, he struck and won his second straight Daytona 500. Is your debt, your credit card debt in particular, blocking you right now? Are you $10,000 or more in credit card debt? In over your head trying to make monthly payments? There's a powerful debt relief program the credit card companies don't want you to know about. Overcome the debt trap of multiple credit cards, high payments, and high interest rates that keep you in debt for decades, and do it with one affordable low monthly payment. Credit Associates Debt Relief Program can help you resolve your debt in as little as 24 to 36 months, saving you thousands of dollars and decades in debt. Find out how much you can save. Call 1-800-747-5362. That's 1-800-747-5362. Call my friends at Credit Associates or just scan the QR code below. Sam Yarnell, the floor is yours, my friend.
I'm going to shred the entire NBA in a second, not just the All-Star game. But here's why this USA World thing won't work and it won't make the game any more competitive. And I don't know why this is even crossing the minds of anyone who actually knows ball. And I think the real ball knowers out there are revealing themselves en masse after this idea. We saw this concept already happen in the NBA with the Rising Stars game from 2015 to 2020. You know what happened in those games? Nobody played defense, and it was essentially just the NBA All-Star game a day earlier with slightly worse shooters. So if you want to go back to that, by all means, but it's not going to fix a gosh darn thing about the NBA All-Star game. Now, the NBA on the whole, it has become very apparent to me that the people within the NBA offices at 6 Park Avenue or whatever it is are starting to panic. They're starting to realize that the NBA has a real issue, and they're looking at, the first time we've seen in my lifetime a decline in cap size because there is no revenue to be had anywhere in the NBA. You've got the commissioner making appearances on Barstool podcasts mid-season, talking about all the changes to the league that they're looking at. What are we doing here? You've got this whole debacle with the NBA All-Star game being now the fifth piece of bad news that we've had this NBA season, and we're halfway through more than that. The NBA has a serious problem with their sport, especially with the rise of college basketball we've seen. The NBA should be flourishing at this point. Look at the WNBA. They're doing it right. The NBA's got a serious problem, and looking at the Four Nations this weekend, I think the viewership is going to get even worse the rest of the season, Jason.
Yeah, I listen. I can't disagree with any of what you said. I mean, piggybacking off what we were just talking about, and Mac McClung wins your slam dunk contest. He's not even in the league. He's not even
Third
in
year
the
in
league.
a row. This is the third year in a row he's won it. This is the all right. If
He's
you're the
your G League
NBA,
player.
right?
G
Another
League.
reason you've got a serious problem.
Yeah.
3 years in a row, your most sought after skill competition has been won by a minor leaguer. You know what would happen if that happened in Major League Baseball? A lockout.
By the way, though, I do have to say the McClung dunks were pretty damn good. I mean, he has kept interest in the slam dunk contest where it didn't exist. And here's what's amazing: Mac McClung NBA earnings. His NBA earnings for his career are about $140,000. His slam dunk contest earnings, $310,000. Only in America, as Don King would say. Only in America. It's great. Dude's making a living off the slam dunk contest. Tino Pattigno probably can't dunk a donut. He's going to join us next. We'll get his thoughts on the Daytona 500. Welcome back to the show. Let's talk some NASCAR. Daytona 500, Great American Race. Rain delayed on Sunday, but then they got it going, and when they did, what a finish we had. It was just a great race in general, but what a finish we had. In overtime, William Byron taking his second straight Daytona 500. Here to talk about it is Tino Pattigno, our NASCAR insider, our betting insider. You can catch him on SiriusXM NASCAR radio as well, and he hangs out with us here on Sports Wrap. All right, I watched the race. It almost felt like a tale of two races. It was, the first 120 laps and then the final, 80 laps or whatever it winds up being. Where you have the stages and people jockeying for position and getting points and trying to, even though it's very early in the year, every point counts as it relates to trying to get yourself into the postseason. And there was Joey Logano and what was happening with his car and all the trying to work through the troubles that he was having. Basically, from a piece of paper, it looked like that flew in, or a piece of debris that flew in front of his car. And he did an amazing job, put himself in position to win this race. A wreck late taking him out, a whole bunch of other great drivers. And then we get to the end of this thing after that big wreck that took so many people out. And William Byron winds up winning. He just basically takes advantage of a situation where he was just kind of meandering throughout the day and hang around long enough. And I begin here, and it's a long-winded way of getting to what I want to ask you, which is, these super speedway races. From a betting standpoint, it's impossible to bet them because there is just so much chaos that ensues that it feels like the strategy has to be for a driver in these races is just hang around, avoid the wreck. Jimmy Johnson finished third, for crying out loud. Is that basically the mentality, is just hang around long enough and then try to take your opportunity late in a race?
Yes, and I would phrase it a little bit differently, and the way I would explain it would be hang around for sure, but you also want to make sure your car is able to take advantage of that opportunity at the end if you're in the right position. So what do I mean by that? Well, I think Ryan Blaney did a great job of this, and he did dominate most of the race, but he was able to come from the back, charge to the front, and when you're doing so, and same thing like Christopher Bell as well, people weren't really talking about him. He was mired back in 20th for a little bit, but I knew he was going towards the front because you can see it. Sometimes you get stuck in the middle, but my point is, if you're able to take your car from the back to the front, you can understand how it handles in different types of situations. If you're a pusher, if you're being pushed, if you're trying to make a 3-wide move, whatever the case may be. So yes, super speedways do involve a little bit of luck, but I wouldn't say they're impossible to bet on because Christopher Bell was the driver we had on our list, 25-1 to win the race. He's the lead. He's in first and second place in that outside lane. Just a few laps to go, and he gets taken out. But That was our pick after Kyle Busch and Ryan Blaney, who got taken out. It's about who can survive, right? So here I pinpointed Christopher Bell. Austin Cindric was another driver that was up there, and maybe they had a shot if they don't get taken out after the first wreck that takes the other guys out. But yeah. I think it was a great race overall, and that's another point where, like you said, it's all about survival. If you can make it past the first wreck, you have a shot. But unfortunately for us, there was 2 other wrecks that happened after that, and William Byron was the guy that was in the right place at the right time.
And hats off to NASCAR for not putting up the caution and letting the drivers actually decide who wins the race in that overtime, Tino. And there was a lot of praise given, and it should have been. Hopefully this sets a standard for NASCAR in these sorts of situations.
100%. You said it very well there, because the fact that did happen, we haven't seen that in a while. And that's the Daytona 500. It was rain delayed for 10 hours, it felt like. The race was supposed to start at 2, ended at 10. You had a bunch of cautions at the end, which is okay. It's racing for the Daytona 500, but you guys want to see it go green, like you mentioned. The fact that they let the drivers race to the line. Now, I think regardless if there was yellowed right when there was caution or race to the line, William Byron would have won, it looked like. So that even better. Be patient, NASCAR. Let them do it. If anything, you can maybe go back and review and change it, but great review by them in order to just let them race out.
What does it say for William Byron? Age of 27 to win 2 Daytona 500s already.
Yeah, to be a multiple Daytona 500 winner, there's champions in this sport. Kyle Busch, right? I mean, he's the main storyline right now. Next year he'll be going on his 21st Daytona 500 with he's a champion that it's taken him so long, so many years to win it, or he may never win it. We've seen drivers, Mark Martin, Tony Stewart, some of the best to never win a Daytona 500. William Byron already has 2. It just continues to move him up and up. We see the rise of him. And back-to-back's another thing. Only a few drivers in history have ever won back-to-back as well. So William Byron doing that, I think it really sets your season off greatly too. Because now you're in the playoffs. You can start week 1, week 2, not even have to worry about that. You just go on, do the best you can to try to win races, do whatever it takes. Maybe you implement a little bit of strategies and learn how your car goes and handles throughout the year. And he's a driver that can win the regular season championship as well. That would be a big plus for them in hopes to try to make it back to the championship 4.
The Ryan Preece wreck, that was scary stuff. And look, and he's been involved in a few of them here. At Daytona that have to make you wonder if you're him, you just stay away from this race forever. I know that's not the way these guys are built, but certainly has to give pause. And he said something that was very notable after that crash. They were able to get him down. I mean, he was completely fine, passed all his health checks and all that stuff. And he said, look, at these speeds and as light as these cars are, it's like plywood, essentially, was what he said, when these things get up in the air. And he was like, it's only a matter of time before somebody doesn't walk away from one of these kind of super speedway wrecks. What did you make of his comments?
It was definitely something that everyone is aware of.
It was sobering.
Yes. When it happened, when Clint Boyer said it on the broadcast as well, like, it went quiet. When his car lifts up in the air, not only in the car because you're flying in the air, but everyone's holding their breath, hoping he's okay. Now he was. I will say that's a testament to NASCAR that he is okay, yes. But the cars should not be flipping like that as well. So it's the balance, right? We're glad he's okay, and NASCAR's done a great job of keeping people safe and drivers safe when they do flip, but now it's about keeping the cars on the ground. They have continued to make adjustments to help that and everything like that. We saw Corey LaJoie flip last year in Michigan, and that's something that is an uncharacteristic for that type of track. And where they're going, it's always seeming to happen on the backstretch, especially for Daytona. But for Ryan Preece, the 3rd time he's flipped or had a huge incident at this racetrack, there's a lot of drivers have. I think what NASCAR needs to do is talk to the drivers and see what they think needs to happen as well.
Yeah, and look, he was in the mix. I mean, he was definitely in the mix in that race. Hats off to Jimmy Johnson though, 3rd place, hell of a finish. We'll see you later in the week. We'll talk to you on Friday and talk Atlanta. See you then.
Thank you.
Coming up in 10 minutes, something to consider: the Baltimore Ravens and the NFL's big problem that just continues to get bigger. We'll get to that coming up. Sam Yarnell, women's hoops. Didn't have this on my radar this weekend, and I probably should have. UConn women mollywhopping South Carolina. Wow. Talk about a statement win for Gino Auriemma's UConn Huskies. It's funny, I think on Friday, maybe Saturday morning, one of the bracketology things came out, and it didn't have UConn as a 1 seed anywhere. I think that may have changed a little bit with what occurred this weekend at South Carolina in a major showdown between two perennial powerhouses now. UConn doing a number and ending like the 7,000 game home winning streak of the Dawn Staley's club down there in South Carolina. That's a big win for UConn, which it needed sort of that statement win, Sam, when you look at their season, which is kind of meandered a little bit by UConn women's standards. And again, there are a lot of people, and I've mentioned this before on the show, there are a lot of people asking the question, is it sort of time for Gino, who got his record, won his, got the all-time wins mark for Division I women's college basketball, Division I basketball as a whole? A lot of people were starting to ask it, is he ever going to win another championship? Because I think if he won one more, he'd walk away. I think if he won one more, he's got a lot of other interests: business, wine, food, travel. I mean, he's kind of that guy who I think retirement will wear very well on him. But I think he's hanging around to try and get one more because he won all those titles in an era with a lot less parity than there is right now in women's college basketball. And I think he wants to prove that he can win one in this new era of women's basketball where there isn't just 4 good teams. There's probably 12 or 13 good teams, or 10 good teams, even if you want to say that. It's still double what it used to be, or maybe triple what it used to be. And I think for that reason, he's hanging around to try and get one more, Sam.
Well, I also think one of the differences now between even, their last title, which was at this point, 4 years ago?
Might be longer than that, Sam. I think it's a lot longer than that.
But my point is the space of women's basketball, both in college and at the WNBA level, the array of talent is much wider. It's not necessarily that there are more competitive teams, which there are objectively, right? And you're 100% right about that, and I think 5 is generous, right? Like back in the Gino days, it was like 3, maybe 4. And now it's like you said, 10 or 12, which is a totally different world when you're talking about winning championships in the tournament format that we have. But I also think the talent within the women's game,
by the way, just so you know, 2016 was their last.
So 8 years
and their
ago.
last appearance in a championship game was 2022. But they have been to the Final Four in 21, 22, and 24.
I think, first of all, that's a good sign, right? It means that they're not far off in this new era. But also, since 2016, like I said, the spectrum, that's a better word, the spectrum of talent in women's basketball is so much broader than it was 8 years ago. And the game of women's basketball alone has grown so much in just those 8 years. So I do agree with you in that he's probably hanging around, but also I think it's exponentially harder.
I agree. I said this 15 years ago. I'll point it out in a second. 15 years ago, I made a statement about college basketball, and Jay Billis came on my own show when I was on in Hartford back in the day on an ESPN radio affiliate and tried to disagree with me on my own show, and I kind of put him in his place, and he's never forgotten it. I'll get to it in just a second after a word from our friends over at Credit Associates. They do a terrific job. If you're $10,000 or more in credit card debt, in over your head, trying to make monthly payments, there is a powerful debt relief program out there. The credit card companies, they don't want you to know about it. We're going to tell you about it, though. Overcome the debt trap of multiple credit cards, high payments, high interest rates, and this debt, it just bogs you down forever. With one affordable low monthly payment, our friends at Credit Associates and their debt relief program can help you resolve your debt in as little as 24 to 36 months. Saves you thousands of dollars and decades in debt. Find out how much you could save. Call 1-800-747-5362. That's 1-800-747-5362, or just scan the QR code below. I said this to Jay Billis on my show. I said we're getting to a point now where, because of socioeconomics, I was just talking about this with somebody the other night. You know how much it costs to play hockey? You know how much it costs to even play football to some degree? Baseball's not an expensive sport. Baseball's an expensive sport. Golf, expensive sport. Hell, even bowling's an expensive sport. We're going to have EJ Tackett on the show this week. Basketball, all you need is one person. All you need to be able to do is go out there with a basketball, find a hoop anywhere. How much does basketball cost? 20, 30, $40 on the
nice ones are 50.
Yeah, and that's it. And that's why the accessibility to basketball is such that there was always going to be this flood of players, and programs can only put 12 to 14 people on a roster or whatever it is. They can't all go to North Carolina and Duke. They can't all go to UConn in the women's program. There was going to be this accessibility to basketball that was going to make for more parity. And that's what we've seen. And I said that to Jay Billis years ago, and he argued, no, the Blue Bloods will still be the Blue Bloods and blah, blah, blah. Go and look around. The Blue Bloods aren't the only ones in the game now. They're not the only ones that can win a national championship. We're coming back. Something to consider is next. Odds and Ends wraps it up in 10 minutes. 4 on the tee, Tiger Woods. Might hear a lot of that this year, if you are to believe what Tiger is saying. We'll talk about that coming up. Sammy Arnell, first, something to consider. The Baltimore Ravens and the NFL have a Justin Tucker problem, sir. 6 more women have come out. I don't think he's hit Deshaun Watson's number yet. I think we're at the what, like 18, something like that. I have trouble keeping track of these things. But Justin Tucker has himself some problems. More massage therapists levying allegations his way of improper sexual conduct. And I don't remember everything about the timeline because it was more than a few years ago in the Deshaun Watson thing, and how quick the league reacted, and how long was it before he was suspended or unable to play or on a restricted list or whatever the hell they decide to do. But I know that what the Ravens are doing right now. What the Ravens are doing is saying, we'll wash our hands of it. We'll let the NFL handle it. But as an organization, don't you have an obligation? Don't you have a responsibility to step forward yourself? Again, I say this all the time. I made this argument in the Aaron Hernandez case a bazillion years ago. There are so many security teams within these NFL rosters or within these NFL organizations. There's so many different security details, former cops, former feds that work for these teams that know everything these players are doing. They know what's going on. They know the score. Pun not intended. They know what's going on here. The Baltimore Ravens could take care of this themselves tomorrow and just say, we're cutting him. I don't care the fact that he's, had this amazing career for the team. If all of these allegations are out there and you as an organization kind of know what's going on here, why are you waiting for the NFL to take the lead on this as an organization? Why not just stand up and say, you know what? You're a kicker. It's been fun. I don't understand it, Sam.
I'm still trying to figure out what the pun that you weren't intending was.
The score.
Never mind. It's besides the point. Right. It's besides the point. Yeah. Listen, I said this when we first talked about this story, and I'll go back to it right now. The Ravens have a Justin Tucker problem. More importantly, the NFL has a Baltimore Ravens problem. This is just getting worse and worse for the organization by the day, seemingly, because exactly to your point, Jason, 100% to your point, as far back as something like this goes, and I believe, and I'm not exactly sure, but I believe the allegations are stemming back like 4 or 5 or 6 years. Um, there's no way that the Baltimore Ravens did not know about it. And now the NFL has a Ravens problem for a couple of reasons. One, they're going to have to levy severe, and I'm talking like way more severe than we've ever seen before, punishments against the Baltimore Ravens. Like way worse than whatever the Commanders got for Schneider. I know that they
why against? Let me stop
Schneider
you. Why against the Ravens as opposed to Tucker?
Because it is going to come out. In my opinion,
that they knew?
Just my opinion here, they 100% knew.
Yeah, but this isn't college sports. But it's not college sports. I don't know because if that was the case, why didn't they do it to Aaron? Why didn't they do it to the Patriots with Aaron Hernandez? You know what I mean? Like the Patriots knew what was going on. They talked about it in the draft room on draft day when they drafted the guy. They knew what was going on. So everybody sort of knew what was the deal with Aaron Hernandez. I don't think they're going to go after the team.
Maybe they should. Right?
Maybe they should, but I don't think they will.
Here's the thing, right? So just case by case, the Aaron Hernandez thing, what they were talking about in the draft room was that, yeah, he had a history of like getting into fights with people and being a little bit of a weird locker room guy. But the second that the murder thing came up, one, he was exiled from the team. And within like 2 days, he was out of the league. This Justin Tucker thing is something that spans across years. It's not even like, it's more comparable to the Deshaun Watson thing, right? Which again was like a grand total of like 18, 24 months. Yeah. This is 4 times that potentially. It's ridiculous to me that you could employ someone, again, with the resources that you're talking about, knowing things about these players for that long, and either be complacent in it happening, sweep it under the rug with him, or act like you didn't know, because it's some degree of one of those 3 things.
I think you bring up, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen that they should punish the team, that they're going to punish the team. But I think you would see a far different mentality in terms of NFL teams, ownership, general managers, organizations, how they go about comprising a roster, putting together a roster, if teams were held responsible for the behavior of guys. Because again, in the NCAA, if a player does something, that you go after the school and schools get in trouble and stuff like that. I think it would be a terrific move by the league. I don't know if it'll ever happen, but I think it would be a great move by the league if they knew, like I said, the Aaron Hernandez stuff, they knew the guy had gang ties before he ever got to New England. They knew what was going on with Aaron Hernandez in Bristol, Connecticut. And they just never did anything about it. I would be very curious to see if the NFL would ever adopt that mentality, but I doubt it. Because they know they can do anything, and they're Teflon, and they can do anything they want.
You're right. They're not going to, because at the end of the day, it comes down to the owners. But they should.
Yeah, I agree. Because look, after this many years, they knew what happened with Justin Tucker. There's no question about it. Hello to our friends watching on Masson. Odds and Ends are next. All right, just about time for the wraps on this baby for a Monday. Tomorrow's show, Dennis Bernstein, thefourthperiod.com on all things hockey, which will be Four Nations talk for sure. Also tentatively scheduled to be joined by our friend Kurt Heelan of Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. Looking forward to talking with him. Hey, if you have not done so yet, make sure to subscribe to the Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast. Getting bigger and better every day. More and more people subscribing to the podcast. Go and check it out wherever you get your podcasts. Spotify, where you can listen to the show, but you can also watch the show. We put up everyday show there, sometime usually in the afternoon, Monday through Friday. Go and check it out over on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon, you name it, we're on all of them. Go and check it out today. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast. All right, without any further delay, time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends, Sam Yarnell. Do that again. So I want to just say, before we get into the sports stuff here, I discovered something, because it is odds and ends, which implies some sort of betting talk. Aside from my win this weekend on the Four Nations on Team USA, much against the objections of my significant other, who was very upset when he found out I placed a wager of the size that I placed on the United States. But then was thrilled when I won, because that's always how it goes. Angry when you bet it, happy when you win it. Might I just say, I discovered something. I have been in casinos since I was legal and allowed to do so. And there was something to this day that I had never played inside a casino. You know what it was? I played it this weekend for the first time. Like, played it for real. Yes.
Baccarat.
No, I've watched Baccarat, but I have not played. I still don't get it.
Okay.
I don't understand the appeal of it. Yeah, one more. Come on.
Roulette?
Yes. But I played it for real.
Wheel guy.
But I played it for real for the first time. Like, I've gone by with like a $50 chip and been like, black, red, odds, evens. No. Today, I did something. I did something different this weekend. I actually went in with a strategy after watching a few, little videos, my friends who play it a little more seriously, and I went in this weekend and I won. I made some money with my system. Had, a set of numbers that I played. Some I played in between, or the 2-number combo. And I did all right this weekend over at Stations Durango, who, by the way, they always take care of me very well there at Stations Durango. Love those guys over there, so thank you. But roulette might be my new illness. Might be my new illness. Just saying.
Yeah, listen, I mean, it is quite the electric feeling when that little ball bounces into the compartment and you have money on that number.
Yeah.
Wait until you hit your first zero, buddy. That one will send you running around the casino a couple of times, I promise.
All right.
Yeah, no, it's fun. Gamble responsibly.
Of
Always
course.
anticipate losing because you never win.
No, that's true. Craps has been my normal go-to if I'm not in a poker.
Yeah, see, that is crazy. I do not understand that because every
Craps
time
is
I walk
easy.
up to one of those things, it's like 8 different things going on at the same time.
Craps is
and
easy.
somehow everyone and no one knows what's going on, and you just start losing money.
Everybody's
so I've never done that before.
Craps is another one of those games where everybody's got a system. There's mechanics and how they throw the dice. I always say, it's like Mike Tyson used to say, everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the face. And
I just don't understand how the game works.
It's so easy. I'll show you. When you come out to Vegas, we'll get you indoctrinated into craps. That's what we need to do.
God.
Kudos to Louis Oberg, your winner, or Ludwig Oberg, or whatever the hell his name is, who won this weekend out at the Genesis Invitational. What? Oberg?
Who
What?
the heck is Lewis?
I don't know. Ludwig? I don't know. Kaiser? I don't know. Congrats to Oberg, though. Your winner. At least I know how to say his last name properly, which is really all that matters. He gets the win this weekend out at the Genesis Invitational over what? Maverick McNeely, I think it was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
I only know that because you told me. Tiger wasn't playing in the event, so I wasn't watching. But there is good news along those lines, Sam Yarnell. And I know you made some money on a little Genesis Invitational wager this weekend, right? No? Yeah.
Pocket change, but
Right.
the Tiger stuff is interesting because I was sitting there almost the duration of his entire time as he joined Jim Nance in the
Always does
broadcast
that, yeah.
booth. And I thought it was, despite, obviously him not playing in the tournament, the circumstances around his family, and obviously we're still all sending our thoughts to him, but he seemed very rejuvenated, Jason. He seemed very determined. So I thought it was a good sign.
I think the TGL stuff has definitely put some wind in his sails and has given him some ideas that he's going to be able to play more than just, the 4 majors this year. His goal is to play a bit more. He hasn't specified, how much, but the idea of him being healthy enough to play in maybe 8 to 10 events, maybe. would be a huge boost for the PGA Tour, especially if he can be competitive and make it to a weekend in some of these events with a chance to win. I think it would raise a lot of eyebrows, not just around golf, but around sports as a whole, during a time of the year where golf has a chance to captivate some imaginations.
It would, and I, said about a year ago when the whole Live PGA thing was flaring up that I didn't think it was good for Tiger to still be in the spotlight.
Yeah.
With the point golf's at now, I think it is good for Tiger to still be in the spotlight.
It's going to do it for us. Fun Monday show. I don't know where the time went, but it's gone. We'll be back with you on Tuesday. Dennis Bernstein, Kurt Heelan. Thanks to Tino Pattigno. We'll see you all later.